And there you have it. The markets are officially closed on this Wednesday, August 12th. Welcome, investors and traders. I'm AJ Monte with StickyTrades. And this next 30 minutes is going to be action-packed. I'll be talking a lot about the news that's coming out. We're going to first, before I bring on Nod Live from the Nod Live news feed, I'm going to talk a little bit about the general markets to give you a rundown as to where they are as compared to last week's target prices. DIA getting right to work here. You can see my downside target still in force at 532.71. Today's candle, we had a slightly higher down day or volume on that down day with a slightly lower low, lower high with gaps below the market. So remember, if you're following along, and I hope you are, and following gap rules, that 80% of the time gaps fill. What does that mean? Well, a gap is more or less a price void on the chart. So 80% of the time those gaps fill, meaning that the price will come down to that void and fill the gap. And then after those gaps fill, 80% of the time, we see this happen all the time, the prices reverse. So what I think we could see here, especially in the diamonds, is that eventually the gap will fill. I think we'll get a little bit of a bounce and then an ABCD down to the next gap fill down here. So we still have longer term targets to the downside on DIA. Going to IWM. And remember, tomorrow I'll be putting out the weekly market report. I'm going to try to do that before noon, get that out on YouTube, because we have a Scotia webinar from the Bank of Nova Scotia through Scotia iTrade that starts from noon, goes on to 1. And we're going to be talking about a lot of good things there as well for the Canadian followers. By the way, if you're following us on X, come on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We got the chat board rocking and rolling right now. And also in the comments field, whether you're on X or on YouTube, let us know where you're dialing in from. We always love to know where our folks are watching from. It just makes us feel a little bit more connected to you. So we appreciate that. All right. So IWM, what do you have right there? Look at that. Members, what do you have? What do you call a small body candle with a long shadow underneath the candle? It can have a little shadow on top. What do you call that when you see it at the end of an upward leg? What do you got right there? I know there's some Long Islanders there, Scott and Hot Miami, Luis. There we go. Southern California, Denver. All right. Well, Tim, I know, knows this. That is, there you go. Absurd Nerd got the right answer. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. That's not a shooting star. This is a shooting star back here. Small body candle with the shadow on top. When the shadow is at the bottom, that's known as a hanging man, and high probability chance that the price will drop from that level. So we, on the way up on IWM, we have a drop in volume now, telling us that the buyers are losing some of that momentum. So downside target on IWM is still 297.14. All right, moving right along to the Qs, the tech-heavy NASDAQ ETF. And what do you got? Slight drop in volume right there, but look to the left as I draw it to the right. Look at that. Bam. That is known as resistance. Okay, resistance is a general area where sellers come in, take control back from the buyers. It's not an exact, to the penny level. It's an area, and we are right at that area of resistance. And down below, look what's happening. On Monday, we had a sell signal cross on the CCI. Down below, if you don't have the CCI on your chart, I would strongly suggest you add it. That's a commodity channel index that was developed by Don Lambert back in the mid-'80s. It is my top pick for indicators as far as leading indicators, and it gives off great signals. So we got the sell signal there, and a lot of times the CCI will generate a sell signal or even a buy signal a day or two ahead of the signals you find on the stochastic. Speaking of which, the stochastic is now overbought in a big way, about 88% on that scale from 0 to 100. And we have a wide divergence from this 20-period moving average. It's known as the rubber band effect. That's what we call it. And what I just mentioned before on the diamonds, look at that. We've got the gap below the market, 80% chance that gap will fill, hence the reason why I have my target right there. And so keep your stops in place if you're long. Make sure you're protecting any profits so you don't turn winners into losers. Downside target on QQQ is 701.59. Moving right along to SPY. Downside target still in place. You can see here is right there at 758.58. We have a pretty significant drop in volume on the way up today after a bearish engulfing candle. Yes, a bearish engulfing is a long red body candle that engulfs, you could even say it eclipses the previous green body from what we saw here on Monday. So the tide is turning on SPY with a sell signal down there on the CCI, very close to a sell signal on the stochastic, and we have another gap below the market, which is right where my target is. Now, the VIX is actually dropped pretty good today, but I'm going to give my forecast a little bit early on the VIX. I think tomorrow, I know I'm sticking my neck out, but not as I do that all the time. Tomorrow, I'm going to say that the VIX is going to turn up. We might even see a green candle on the VIX. Now, for the most part, the VIX is inversely related to the S&P. So if I have a bullish VIX showing and a pivot point about to form, then that's going to support or confirm what I'm talking about on SPY. Now, Nod on now from the Nod Live news feed right there. We got him muted. There we go. Unmute Nod. Now, if you're a subscriber to the Nod Live news feed, you know Nod puts out a ton of information, news, headlines, economic data, you name it. It comes out, and he's faster than Bloomberg. I'm going to tell you right now, for a fraction of the price, you're going to get the news, and it's relevant to your trading. It's going to be absolutely going to be news that's going to move markets or at least individual stocks. So, Nod, why don't we go right into some of the headlines, and then we're going to build into our main topic for today, which is the energy crisis that I see about to hit us. Okay, so take it away.
Thank you so much, AJ. And again, thank you all for joining us. We do appreciate it. Today was kind of a waste of a short day. You know, the Dow lagged, the S&P and NASDAQ rose a little bit on the back of a tame U.S. inflation report as the Federal Reserve is focused on that and the impact of higher prices that it's having on the U.S. consumer. Remember, we had 3 dissenters at the last meeting voting to raise rates, so that threat is alive and well. Tech did lead the way a little bit with artificial names like CoreWeave and Supermicro Computer charging ahead. The inflation report was the big data for the week. It did ease a bit for July. It cooled to 3.4%, which is down 0.1% from June. In July, the shelter inflation index rose 0.1% month over month, which accounted for 2/3 of that. The food index was also 0.1%, which is also 30% of the rise. And energy fell 1.5% month over month. The U.S. hiring is losing steam. Per ADP weekly employment report, they said private sector employers added an average of 8,200 jobs per week, which was down dramatically from 21,000 from June. Some are saying that it's from the World Cup. I don't know what that case is, but that's pretty dramatic. And home sales fell 1.7% in July to an annualized rate of 4.06 million units. The median house price stayed around $434,000, and the inventory is reaching more highs. Listen, home buyers think that it's 2009. Home sellers think that it's 2021. I still think I'm 28 years old. The market does not care what I think or what we think. It is what it is. And finally, AJ, on Monday, NVIDIA lined up a $500 billion financing with partners like Apollo, Blackstone, BlackRock, and Brookfield Asset Management, and Goldman and KKR, as CEO Jensen Huang told CNBC that his chips are an investable asset. Now, we know they're a depreciable asset, but there's a whole lot of things in infrastructure all around that. So you and I can take this 45 different ways. But with that done and with that flag in the sand, what does that tell you? Where's that taking us? And, you know, this we could touch on precious metals, valuations, wherever you want to go with this, man.
Well, it's a lot to unpack there. But now, remember last week, we started talking about the AI race between the U.S. and China, right, and the introduction of Kimi K3 out of China. And no sooner do we talk about it, you see advertisements now all over social media for Kimi K3, how it's free, try it out. And so China is rapidly increasing their inventory of memory, because when you're looking at AI, the amount of memory and the amount of power that's going to be needed to power AI in individual computers and beyond is absolutely tremendous. And so from a trading perspective, I see opportunities all over the place, and I'll name them for you. Energy for one, AI, also silver, not so much gold, but still silver is back in the limelight because now you pulled up some information, I think earlier today,
Right.
talking about the amount of silver that's going to be needed for each AI facility. You have that number handy because that'll help me lead into the trades that we're putting on here. What
I
did
do.
you
So,
see?
so
Yeah.
one large scale AI data center has tens of thousands of specialized servers, switchers, and heavy powered distribution switchgear. That one facility can require 200,000 ounces of silver. So you imagine how many we've been talked about, in the news, how many have started, how many haven't started. Just one alone is 200,000 ounces of silver. Is that even available right now, AJ? I
Well,
don't
well,
think so.
well, there is a silver shortage. There's the supply crisis that
Right.
we've been talking about for well over a year, almost 2 years. So for those who are interested in knowing how we're making money in the silver market, and then I'm going to step right into AI and even some of the military applications that require silver. Let me pull up SLV, okay? Because this is my main position. What I've been doing and what I've been teaching people to do is to play or trade the wheel strategy. Now, the wheel strategy is fairly simple. You got to learn options. You got to know enough about options, maybe even know enough about options to be dangerous. But it starts off where you sell a short term put. Now, for those who don't know options, let me just explain that part for a moment. When you sell a put contract, what you're doing is you're obligating yourself to buy the stock at a certain level. So you pick that price, and that's known as the strike price. You pick the price at which you would be comfortable owning the stock. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get the stock at that price. It just means that you're obligating yourself to buy the stock at that price. Okay, so let's say you sell, I don't know, a $50 put. Let's say you're selling a $50 put. You go out there, you sell one put contract. In return, you get paid to obligate yourself to buy the stock lower. That money immediately goes into your trading account. You could do whatever you want with it. And that's where it starts. Now, if you're lucky enough and the stock does drop to the level at which you're obligated yourself to buy it, you now own the stock, right? That's called getting assigned. So if you're assigned the position, looking at my diagram right there, what happens? You own the stock, so now you're holding the stock in your portfolio, and you immediately go in and you sell a call, which now obligates you to sell the stock at a higher price. That's what we look to do. We sell out of the money calls at a higher price. And guess what? You get paid another lump of cash known as premium. And then if you get the stock called away, I know I'm going around the wheel here, then what you do, you go right back and restart the whole process and go right back to selling puts again and taking the cash out of the market. Now, I've been talking about this week on end here and how I've been doing this. Now, I'm currently long SLV, and I've sold the $59 calls in September. I got paid a lot of money to do that because I have a big position. What did I do with that cash? I went right in and I bought more SLV with it. So now the shares that I bought with the premium collected from the market is free stock. There's no risk on that because the market paid for that position entirely. And then what do I do once I get the stock? I go sell calls against that. Now, I have a little twist here that I've done in the amount of premium that I'm taking out of the market, and our members know this. And by the way, if you want to be a member, you just come right on over for the 15-day trial. There's no obligations. In fact, I think we got a scan code that we could put up there, a 15-day trial. You just take your camera on your phone and scan that code right there, right below nod, and you can come on board. There's no sales pressure. No one's going to call you and say, hey, you got to buy this or this. No. After 15 days, the membership just disintegrates. It expires, and that's it. It's done. If you want to come back, that's totally up to you, but we don't hound you or try to call you and talk you into staying with us. It's totally up to you. But what did I do with some of the cash that I generated? Well, and I did this right with our members. I started a wheel strategy with SpaceX. But the difference is, instead of selling puts on SpaceX, right on the low right here, I bought the SpaceX outright. So SPCX. And then what did I do with the cash that I collected from selling the calls? Well, I sold the 135 calls on SpaceX, which is now, those are $11 in the money. Now, I'm going to get to this in a minute, but I think SpaceX is going to pull back a little bit. However, if SpaceX stays over 135, I sell it at 135. I bought it at 126 or lower. Now I get to keep the profit in the cash. What am I going to go do with the cash? I go obligate that to go sell more puts, take in more money. What am I going to do with the money? There you go. Go buy more SpaceX, or I could go buy more silver, whatever I want.
AJ Lionheart is asking, how do you determine the strike and time frame? Do you base it on Delta, VIX, or with regards to the wheel?
That's a good question. You remember what I said in the very beginning. Let's say you're starting a position in SpaceX. First and foremost, I would not be selling a put right now because I think SpaceX is going to pull back. However, after the stock is pulled back and has shown some level of support, what I do is I look at where the support level is. Let's say that support level is the 20-period moving average right there around 120. Okay. I will sell the 120 puts in SpaceX, and that's what I do. Short term. I do not go long term. I go short term options. Take the cash, go buy more shares of SpaceX. Shares that you buy is paid for by the market. Thank you, market, for giving me free stock. And now there's no risk on those additional shares. And you just play the wheel. Now, I don't know how many of our members are in the chat right now that could vouch for what that could mean, but we got a lot of members doing this wheel strategy. And again, if you want to take a screenshot of this, wherever you might be, whether it be on YouTube or X, take a screenshot of this diagram so you can get the 1, 2, 3 steps on how to trade the wheel. And then if you need more clarification, of course, come on over to StickyTrades and be able to trade along with us. I'm not making any guarantees. Of course, Mimai says big bucks, 100%. Tim Trades #1 said I did on SpaceX. Look at that. This is great. It's a great market. Now, before I get overly excited about some of these positions, I want to make sure people aren't going to go second mortgage their house and go, put it in the market without knowing what you're doing. Let me show you about Bloom Energy right here. Yesterday, we were talking about this on the VIP call. Here's another good idea for, again, just ideas on how you would trade the wheel strategy on this one. Now, it's a more expensive stock, obviously, but it gapped up today. I think BE is going to pull back to the 210 level, right around 210. And then bounce. Why do I say that? Because the moving average is most likely going to act as support. So if I'm willing to buy the stock at 210 and the stock is pulled back, I will go out maybe 2 weeks. Maybe here, I'll go to August 28. Look at this, folks. And I would say sell. And now, if the stock pulls back to 210, the 210 puts are obviously going to be trading a lot more than $7. Okay. They're probably going to be trading closer to $14. So if the 210 puts are trading 14, you go sell the put, you collect $14. Now, for every option you sell, you're collecting $1,400 because it's priced on a per share basis. So in other words, sell it for 14, it's priced at $14 a share, but there's 100 shares in each option contract. So it's 100 times 14, $1,400. That is the return you're getting on the amount of money you're pledging towards the purchase of the stock. Now, I know it's a mouthful and I'm going quickly, but we do go quickly here on this 30-minute segment. Come on over. You can ask us questions. We're doing a webinar tonight. We're doing another webinar tomorrow. We do one Monday. And so just come on up by and we'll help you out with that. Now, Bloom Energy is one that I have on my watch list. Another one, I got to disclose this. We actually took a position in this one, NEE. This is Nextera. We bought calls on this one, And look at this, stock is doing absolutely what we want it to do, pivoting up. And so this one's working out. Keep this one on your watch list. And then another one that we're looking at is NNE. Don't get NEE and NNE confused. NNE is the nanonuclear energy, which I think is going to help cater to the demands of the energy grids that are going to need to be developed to bring on AI. And that's that. I'm going to use that as a segue into AI, because Nad, you pulled up an article today. Actually, it was published on the 12th. Why don't you give us some of the headlines of what's happening in Texas with the demand for energy as AI start to unfold in that state? What do you have for us
Well,
there?
I think for folks my age, anyone who watched Back to the Future, when Doc said 1.21 gigawatts, like we didn't know what he meant. Well, I mean, I think the more we talk about power these days, you kind of have an idea of what a gigawatt is. And peak demand for electric reliability in Texas alone is going to reach 120 gigawatts by 2030. That's a massive 30% growth from where we are now. Now, there's been a lot of, I guess, back and forth and friction with regards to where these are going to be built and how they're going to be cooled and what's going to supply them. So I think that's where we have a constraint, AJ. But
Yeah.
in Texas, there's a problem already in Texas. I know it's happening in Colorado. This is before, probably 95% of these have already even broken ground.
Well, you have to also understand, Nod, that this is an absolute race for supremacy in this space with AI. It's a race between US and China. China knows that whoever dominates is going to basically control the world. You're going to be able to move economies. You're going to be able to control the banking system. You're going to be able to have a huge advantage with regard to military and weaponry. And the U.S. knows this. Now, what's the difference between what's happening in China with regard to their growth versus our growth and potential growth? Well, they don't have regulators like we do. They don't have a population of people that are now starting to protest because they don't want an AI facility in their backyard. And I can't blame them. I cannot blame them at all. But China could care less about what the people say. They're going to build what they need. They're gonna trample over them if they have to. They'll move them. They'll remove whatever it may be. I'm not going to go down that road, but they're going to make sure they are in the strongest position with regard to AI. So we have the opportunity here to take advantage of those types of stocks. Now, going back to NNE, this is a fairly inexpensive stock. Remember what I talked about, the wheel strategy. Imagine you want to buy this stock and you want to wait for it to drop. So look at the $18 puts here. The $18 puts are 65 cents offered at $1.35. You could probably sell it for $1. So you sell it for $1. You're obligating yourself to buy the stock $1 lower. If it doesn't go down $1 low, you get to keep the dollar. You get to keep $1 and $18 margin requirement. There's your return in a very short period of time, because that option is going to expire in roughly 2 weeks. If it expires worthless, what are you going to do? If you're still willing to buy the stock, all right, I'll come down a little bit. But this no one's going to teach you this, folks. This is why tuning into our channel is going to help you learn what professionals are doing, because it's certainly not going to teach you the best strategies. And so if the option expires worthless after you collected that dollar, you go out 2 more weeks, sell another put, collect another $1. You're banking the cash. If it goes down and you get the stock, then you start selling calls against your long stock position. It's not rocket science, but you got to learn how to trade according to the chart. Speaking of rocket science, let's go to SpaceX. I'm telling you, Nod, Elon Musk, and you know this, everyone knows this, he despises short sellers.
He's squeezing them.
They opened the window for selling, the first round of selling. Guess what? Stock didn't go down. The short sellers got choked, and now they're covering. In fact, at the beginning, right before the window opened up for selling, what was the short selling percentage? It was a huge amount, and we know they covered a lot of that recently. But the window opened up, and guess what? People did not sell the stock. Instead, they did the opposite, like we did. We took a long position against our negative delta. We have a short put spread, but we took a long one where we're long the 125 leaps. I'm just giving you what we're doing. I can't tell you what to do. I'll tell you what we're doing. And we sold the 135 calls against the long leaps to collect premium to reduce the cost basis of the calls that we own. And this position is already up in just about a week with huge percentage gains. Again, not making an income claim because we'll get booted from YouTube, but come on by. We'll show you how to do this in diagonal calendar, call spreads, and put spreads as well. Oh, by the way, we were looking at Marvell Technology. We have a winner here. We have a swag winner.
We do.
MRVL. There it is, MRVL. And Eric is our swag winner. Congratulations, Eric. Because your stock hit the target at 224 that was set. Now, for those who are brand new, understand these diagonal lines that I have here, all of these are previous price targets. Okay, so if I put a downside target, stock hits the target, great, congratulations. Upside target hit, congratulations. This was a two-parter where I said it would drop first and then go up. Well, it obviously dropped. It went a little bit further, but then came right back up, and Eric is a winner. So, Eric, if you can reach on over to us, send us an email where your mailing address is, and we will send you a tumbler or something nice from the swag store. So congratulations again. We don't have much time, so let's go into some individual stocks. Maybe we could get another swag winner. Let's see.
Yes. So Cisco reported while you and I were talking, it moved 6% right out of the gate. But if you could look at it in the after hours and just let us know what you think, it did the old pump and now dump.
They pumped it and dumped it. Well, this one obviously is down already around 120. So this is most likely. I'll do a forecast. We already know it's down, but they'll probably keep it down. It's going to move down to this roll reversal right here, which is right around 118. So if you want, I'll do a two-parter on this one. I think it's going to go down to 118. Actually, I'll do the one-parter for now because there's very close to this roll reversal right here from these highs. A roll reversal is a former resistance level right there that was broken when it broke out over that resistance, and now the former resistance turns to support. So who offered this stock? We want to make sure we record that.
That was William.
William. Okay, so William, I have a downside target of $118.38, $118.38. If it hits that target, we'll be sending you some swag as well. Now, we got time for maybe one more and then some final comments. This is how quickly 30 minutes goes.
Yeah, fine. So TJ, Bill, and Mimi are all asking about the VIX. They're saying, is it too cheap to ignore? Has it ever been lower?
I talked about the VIX. I don't want to repeat what I just said, but I think we're going to see. I even said that I think we're going to see a green candle tomorrow on the VIX. So I don't want to waste time talking about the VIX. Let's get another ticker symbol.
All right. So Scott Russell, does that mean that AG is going to go up with where we are in the markets?
No, absolutely not. We're going to see a pullback. I believe we're going to see a pullback. There's gaps below on AG. And I do have a downside target already set at $16.78. By the way, our members on the directional service that we offer, Matrix, how many of you get a shout out? How many of you made really good money on AG when we bought those calls on that? And also Alcoa. Alcoa is another one. Look at this. We had calls on Alcoa, went up, hits the target today. Look at that. Bearish engulfing candle. Alcoa is coming right back down. So I think the metals companies like Alcoa, the metals and mining companies like AG, Pan American, SLV, the ETFs, I think they're going to be pulling back. I'd like to see them pull back just a little bit to give me a chance to sell some more puts and get long the stock that way through the wheel strategy. Now I will take one final question, and then we're going to end right at the bottom of the hour.
Sure.
Go ahead.
NBIS, that was up 34% today. Where do you see it going now?
NBIS came out with earnings today. Let me see if it filled the gap. Let's see. Hold on. Downside low there is 255.80. Did it get up to that? Yeah, it went to 259.44. So there you go, folks. 80% of the time gaps fill. Then what happens after gaps fill? 80% of the time it drops. Now, I think we're going to see just a little bit higher because of the momentum. Look at the volume boost there. So I'll do a two-parter on this one. A little bit higher. Then I think we're coming right back down on this roll reversal right here. So I'll put a downside target eventually on that one at 235.24. So we'll put that as a swag contestant. I know we had a bunch of people on that But you pick a couple of names and we'll register this on our rapid fire list later today at 6 o'clock. So downside target at 235.24. Folks, you're having a good time. Put a thumbs up in the chat.
AJ, I have one more thing. We're going to do a giveaway. We have a cruise coming up in October, and we're going to do a giveaway. So anybody who is an Ultimate member, so an AJ Ultimate member, a paid Ultimate member by August 25th, so you've got some time, you're going to be put into a raffle. And if your name is drawn, you'll be able to join us on our dime on the cruise. It's going to be fabulous. So I posted a link in there. Again, if you're an Ultimate member, you're automatically you're entered in. But if you want to be eligible, become an Ultimate member. You get some of the greatest content with AJ. You get a Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday webinar from him. You get a special publication. Oh, and you get a shot at the cruise. So
folks, I got to add something here before we wrap up. The odds, if you're an Ultimate member, the odds of you winning a cabin on this cruise is extremely good. Yeah. It's not like the New York State Lottery or the Florida Lottery. We don't have millions of subscribers, but the odds are very good in getting a chance to come on the cruise with us. So that's going to be a lot of fun in October. And we'll end on that high note. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this. And I would love it if you put some comments and even some questions in the recording on YouTube, because we follow those, we track those, and it definitely helps our algorithm when you add comments and you like and you subscribe, you do all that good stuff, helps us move up on the chart. So thank you. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on the weekly market report. Take care.